As we've been warning for months, Russia appears to be proceeding with plans to hold sham referenda in areas of Ukraine under its control, and even in areas of Ukraine not currently under its control, in direct violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. Russia is rushing to hold these referenda in response to Ukraine's gains on the battlefield, as well as to prepare for potential mobilization measures. These referenda are an affront to the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity that underpin the international system and that lie at the heart of the United Nations Charter. We know that these referenda will be manipulated. We know that Russia will use these sham referenda as a basis to purportedly annex these territories either now or in the future. Let me be clear. If this does transpire, and obviously it's not a done deal yet, but if this does transpire, the United States will never recognize Russia's claims to any purportedly annexed parts of Ukraine. And we will never recognize this territory as anything other than a part of Ukraine. We reject Russia's actions unequivocally, and we will continue to work with our allies and partners to impose costs on Russia and to provide historic support for Ukraine. We are aware of reports that President Putin may be preparing to enact mobilization measures. Like its sham annexation planning, this is reflective of Russia's struggles in Ukraine. He may be resorting to partial mobilization, forcing even more Russians to go fight his brutal war in Ukraine, in part because they simply need more personnel and manpower given the success that Ukraine has had on the battlefield, particularly in the northeast, but even pushing into other parts of previously occupied Russian territory around the country. The bottom line is that Russia is throwing together sham referendums on 3 days' notice as they continue to lose ground on the battlefield and as more world leaders distance themselves from Russia on the public stage. And Russia is scraping for personnel to throw into this fight. These are not the actions of a confident country. These are not acts of strength, quite the opposite. And the United States, our allies and partners in the international community, will stand against these transparent efforts on the part of Russia and stand firmly with Ukraine and the Ukrainian people.
The mobilization piece, does that change your assessment of how long Ukraine can withstand those Russian assaults?
You know, our basic assessment at this point is that between the consistent, steady support that the West has provided and has indicated, as President Biden has said, we will continue to provide for as long as it takes. Between that and the skill, bravery, and courage of the Ukrainian armed forces and the willingness of Ukrainians to take up arms in very large numbers, that Ukraine, we have confidence, will be able to continue to show on the battlefield that it is not going to fall prey to Russian aggression, that it will be able to continue to push back against Russian efforts to conquer territory and take over the country. In terms of Russia being able to put more troops onto the battlefield, obviously that will have an impact on the battlefield equation, but we do not believe at this point that it will undermine Ukraine's ability to effectively repel Russian aggression and to continue making gains. He was unable to make the scheduling work. We're going to make very robust financial commitments.